I'm still confused on how it happened. Hi friends, it's Johnny back with another video, and today it is time for another story time. This time I'm talking about the time that my mother collapsed in Puerto Rico. Fun times. So I was about 10 or 11 at the time, and my grandmother decided to take me to Puerto Rico. And my parents and my sister were going to join us a few days after we got there, so there was just going to be a few days of it being my grandmother, my step-grandfather, and me. And our family's going to be staying at my great-aunt and great-uncle's house. Now, there's a lot of fun stories and things like that to talk about, and some spooky stories as well, that I can save for another time. But today we're going to be talking about the horror that was my mother collapsing in Puerto Rico. So as a child, I didn't really like sleeping in the dark alone. So while my parents weren't there yet, I was sleeping in the same room with my grandmother. Then when my parents came, I shared a room with them and my sister. And the room was a suite, so it was a huge room that we had plenty of room in. If you've never been to Puerto Rico, at least like the farm country areas of Puerto Rico, it is pitch black at night. It is beyond darkness at night, okay?
This isn't your average everyday darkness. This is advanced darkness.
So it wasn't early on in the trip. It was probably like midway to near the end of the trip. We were gonna go to the caves. So we woke up early and my sister was still asleep. I was like half in, half out, just kind of like coming and going, in and out of consciousness, waiting for my turn to use the bathroom. Mom had already done what she needed to do in the bathroom, so she was already dressed and looking at herself in the mirrors, you know, just kind of admiring the tan. Dad was in the bathroom at the time, so I was staying in bed because I'm like, there's no rush for me to get out of bed when I have to go and do a bunch of things in the bathroom before I could get dressed anyway. So I might as well kind of just like enjoy laying down for a bit. The last thing I saw was my mother looking in the mirror. What happened was she got very dizzy and decided, I'm gonna go sit down on the bed. So she starts to walk back to the bed, and all of a sudden she just collapses and blacks out entirely. Luckily, she collapsed where she did because she collapsed a few inches away, just a few inches away from hitting her head on the side table next to the bed. And if she would have done that, she probably would have broken her neck. I mean, it would have been a little better if she walked maybe another foot. So when she collapsed, she could have just like collapsed on the bed and not gotten hurt at all. But I mean, beggars can't be choosers. I'd rather her hit her head than break her neck. So I didn't see her collapse. My eyes were closed at the time, and all I heard was what sounded like someone slamming a bowling ball on the concrete floor. Because yes, the floor in this room wasn't carpet or wood or anything like that. It was concrete tiles, because why not? So I opened up my eyes to see what the bang was, and I noticed Mom's not there anymore. And I already knew the sound of the doors opening, so I knew she didn't leave the suite, she didn't go into the bathroom. So I'm like, what the hell happened? So I jump out of bed and run around her bed, because again, we were in the same room, so our bed was on the floor, and their bed was on a bed frame. So it was a little higher so I couldn't see over it. So I run around their bed, and by the time I'm getting to her, she's already getting up and holding her head like this. And she's like, ugh. And I'm like, oh my God, Mom, what happened? Are you okay? What's going on? And she'd just be like, I fainted. Can you go tell your father? And she goes to point with the hand that she was just covering her head with. And when she moves her hand, I freak out because her head looks like someone just took an orange, chopped it in half, and stuck half of it to her forehead. She has a huge welt on her head. I'm like, oh my God, Mom. And she's like, what? I'm like, your forehead. And she says that she was able to see her forehead. When she looked up, she just saw the welt. So she knew it was bad. So she's like, go get your father quick. And so I go and I knock on the bathroom door. I'm like, Dad, Mom collapsed, Mom fainted. She needs your help. Come quick. And he like, you know, obviously freaks out and dries up and tries to come out. He can't get out of the bathroom. So I'm knocking on the door, he's turning the knob, and I'm like, so when I hear the knob turning, I'm already walking back to Mom, and he's like, then let go of the door. I'm like, okay. I'm not holding the door. And he's like, yeah, sure, because he hears Mom already talking to me at that point. And he's like, yeah, Mom collapsed, sure. You can let go of the doorknob now, thinking that we were playing a joke on him. We weren't. The doorknob decided to break at that moment. You know, the most opportune time. Of course, why not? And we to this day still find it weird because we keep saying, like, when we looked into that mirror, we all kind of felt funny and we would occasionally get dizzy or something. So we just felt like there was something off in the room.
It's spooky.
So he's like, open up the door. By the point, again, I'm not even near the door. So I'm like, Dad, I'm not touching the door. I'm not even next to the door. And he's like, oh shit, I think the doorknob's broken then. So we're freaking out now. We're like, what the hell? Luckily, my great uncle built the house. And for whatever reason, he built a second door to the bathroom. Like, he had the door that led into the suite, but he also had a door on the back wall of the bathroom that led to the backyard. Like, it would just go down a flight of stairs and you'd be in the backyard for whatever reason. I don't pretend to know why, but it came in handy. So Dad's not really thinking about that. He's just thinking about how to get out. So I remember the door. I'm like, Dad,
And the only way out is through the...
back door. I'll go let you in through the house. And he's like, okay, no problem. So he runs out the back door. I run out the street, and Mom's like, don't tell Grandma and don't tell Titi. So I'm like, okay, no problem. I run through. I say my good mornings, and they're like, why are you running? I'm like, I just gotta use the bathroom. And so I'm running down the hall to the back door. I unlock the back door and let Dad in, and now we're both running back out. And like, that was fast. And then they see Dad behind me, like, where did you come from? And of course, you can't really like explain that. Like, yeah, okay, I lied and said I was using the bathroom, but how do I explain the fact that my father just like manifested? You know what I mean? Like I said, we couldn't really lie or anything like that, so we just kind of ran out. And so of course they ended up following us out. So Dad gets to Mom, he's like, oh my God. And then my great aunt and my grandmother are like a few seconds behind us. And so Mom sees them coming and quickly grabs the pillow and covers her forehead. And my grandmother, this is my mother's mother, by the way, sees that and she's like, what happened? Why did Johnny run through the house? Why did your husband run out the house with Johnny? Where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did he come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
I'm so damn confused.
Why are you holding that pillow up? Mom's like, nothing, I'm fine. You know, all this in Spanish. And she's like, you're not fine. You're holding a pillow up to your head. Now move the pillow. And Mom's like, I'm fine, Mom, I'm fine. Really, I'm fine. And my grandmother like curses out my mother and like, move the fucking pillow. So Mom slowly moved the pillow away from her forehead. And the look of terror on my great aunt and my grandmother's faces. They saw that, screamed and flailed and ran around in circles. Looking back at it now, I'm like, that really didn't help anything. So they're like, you need to go to the hospital. What happened? And Mom explains what happened. But she's like, I don't want to go to the hospital. And honestly, knowing the hospitals in Puerto Rico, I wouldn't want to go to the hospital either. I don't know if they're better now, but they were terrible back then. So obviously we canceled our plans for the day. We hung out at the house. We let Mom relax and, you know, put some ice packs on her forehead. Because by the time that I got back into the room with Dad and Grandma and Titi came running in with me, the size of the knot went up. It went from like half of an orange to like a full-on grapefruit on her forehead. So the rest of our trip, we just kind of like took it easy so Mom can rest. And honestly, we didn't let her sleep that day because a concussion, you know, she banged the living hell out of her head. And then the rest of the trip, we kind of like settled down as well because, again, Mom's injured. We don't want her pushing herself too hard. We don't know what made her faint. She might faint again. We don't know. And then eventually the trip ended and we had to go home. My father decides to make a terrible joke in the airport. By this point, my mother, well, didn't really go down. She still had a lump, but it was like more deformed than being around the way it was a few days before. And of course, a lot of the blood that rushed there pooled around her eyes, so she had 2 black eyes. My mother looked like some kind of Sly Cooper looking raccoon looking Tanuki shit, okay? It was not cute. She looked like she was trying to be a cat burglar and decided to bash through the bank wall with her forehead. It wasn't cute. What also wasn't cute was my father's sense of humor, if you could even call it that. Because obviously, people see a woman with 2 black eyes and a welt the size of Wisconsin on her forehead, and they're gonna think domestic violence. You know, they're gonna think that she's being abused or something like that. And that's 100% not my father. My father would never do that. My father would never lift a hand against my mother. So I don't know why he thought this was funny. I guess he thought because, like, yeah, people know I wouldn't do this, so of course it's funny, it's a joke. But I'm like, people don't know you. We do, but outside people, like, outside of the family, don't. So he decides, when he sees all these people staring at Mom in the airport, to scream out, "That's what you get. Next time when I say I'm hungry, you get my dinner on the table on time." And we're all looking at him like, what the hell is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Why would you make this joke? Like, it's not even a joke. It's not funny. It's some kind of deaf noodles comedy that only you would find funny. So we're like looking around hoping that some kind of security or police officer doesn't come and like swoop him away. Luckily, I guess we were still in the airport in Puerto Rico, and they just didn't care. Like, we wholeheartedly expected some point before our flight took off for somebody to be like, sir, you need to come with us. And take Dad away. And then we would have to be like, no, that's not him. He was just making a really, really, really dumb joke that no one found funny. Even to this day, we look at him when we talk about this whole situation, we're like, what were you thinking? Why? Why would you make that joke? Why would you say that in public? Why would you do that? But you know, we all got home safely. Mom took a while to recover because, again, it was a huge welt and her eyes were bloodshot and like just the darkest rings around her eyes. Like, think L from Death Note, but so much worse. Add like 3 inches all the way around the eye, and still that might not have been enough. But yeah, that's the story of the time that my mom tried to change occupations to become a raccoon. I hope you guys enjoyed the story because I enjoyed telling it. Back then it was scary, but now it's a bit of a funny story that we tell in the family. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and bing bong the ding dong down below to be alerted when I make a new video. And until next time, maybe go check out some of my other videos. I have a bunch of other story times and a bunch of other different types of videos too. But until next time, bye! I guess the moral of the story is that, never pick a fight with concrete tiles because you'll lose every time.